Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to go over some of the progress I've made on my helmet since about 4 months ago. I only get to work on it a little bit every week, so it's been kind of a slow progress. Just to kind of go over the mouthpiece, I didn't really like the old piece, wanted to add a little more detail, so I came up with this design. There's a bit of a gap between the upper panel piece and the lower one, about 1/16. And then I wanted to make the perimeter of the eyes a little bit thicker, so I made sure to make these little 1/4 inch little panels, 1/4 inch wide panels that goes around the perimeter, and that came out pretty good. For the mouth, I was coming up with a few different designs. I didn't like how sharp this one looked, so I scrapped that and came up with these little pieces. I liked how that looked a lot better, so I glued everything together into one little unit and then spray painted it with primer paint and filled the gaps with some clay. So I think the helmet was coming together pretty much to how I wanted to, so I just filled the top of the helmet with the clay, and it's pretty bumpy, but I figure I could just sand it once it's cast. So yeah, I was pretty satisfied with this. It's getting really tired of coming up with other pieces to add to the helmet, so just called it good and threw everything else away. Then played with some of the Rebound 25. This is the keys I'll use later for the support mold. And here's my first layer on my helmet. I'm just filling in some of the gaps here. And since it is a pretty liquidy consistency and it drips a lot, I added some of the defects, I think hardener solution to it, which comes out to a little bit more of a buttery kind of consistency, and that way it doesn't just drip all over the table. I can fill in the compartments a lot better. And then here is the eye receptacle. I had to put the LED in there and make that initial perimeter, put a little Vaseline on there, and then fill the eye socket. And here are the keyways from earlier. I just made those with little takeaway cups and held them into place with needles. Once I had the keyways installed, I was complete with the silicone part, I tried to make the hard shell out of fiberglass, but that was a mess because it started to droop and sag at the chin area, so I had to just throw it all away and start over. I saw another YouTuber use free foam air 2-part epoxy for their Mandalorian helmet, so I went the same route with mine. Just start with the left hand side of the helmet, and yeah, it came out pretty good. This stuff was kind of hard to work with. It had a really bad smell and got everywhere, but it worked for what I needed. So I made the left and the right piece and a back support and drilled it all out and put screws into it. Here is the removal of the first support shell. It was very, very difficult to remove, so I had to use this little scraper tool to wedge it off. Once I got all the pieces off, I was ready to remove the silicone mold, and this process was extremely difficult. As you can see, pieces were coming off, my jaw got dislocated, and it took me about 30 minutes to just kind of pry everything off and cut some of the mold in a couple spots in the back. Yeah, my initial sculpt is completely destroyed. I got a really good negative mold. Got some clay and little wood chips in there, but no biggie. Here's the negative mold in the support shell, and you can see some of the details here and there. You can see where I cut into the mold there. And yeah, I was ready to do my rotocast with Smooth on 65D. I added some black tint to it, but it didn't really come out black, so maybe I just need to add more next time around. But yep, there is the first cast. This is probably 4 or 5 layers in, and then remove the rubber mold, and here was the product. Came out pretty good. I was very excited to get the inner visor area cleared out so I can kind of see how it kind of looks. But yeah, it did kind of mess up in a couple spots, especially the center LED socket is very thin. So I'll have to adjust for that on my next helmet. This is just my practice helmet. Here are the LEDs installed with the control switch. Looking pretty good. Pretty happy with that. And the LEDs look pretty blue in the video, but they're just plain white LEDs. Here's some of the circuit and battery just kind of loosely installed. And here is the switch on the inside, which that'll be covered up, and additionally all the LEDs where the wires attached to will be covered up on the final product, so it won't be lighting up the interior of the helmet as much. Here I'm just testing out my LEDs in the garage with the lights off. As you can see, it's pretty bright, but I don't think I'll be able to see as well once the tinted visor is installed. So I may add additional LEDs to the upper portion of the helmet, or maybe like a little LED attachment on the side of the helmet. Here is the power on button. I just drilled it out after kind of scribing the nut for it, just making a little circle and drilling it out. Then I fed the switch through, and yeah, it looks pretty good. To get my head in, I had to cut the back panel off, but I'll have to adjust the rubber mold because I dug into the little compartments on the back. So I'll just cut the rubber mold later. That way I don't cut into it next time when I take off the back panel. So yeah, just a little too far down. So I'll have to adjust that. And I gotta be careful with my slush cast since I got some of these little bumps in there that kind of hit against my head. Just a little too thick. But overall, pretty good. Here was the first test fit. I was really happy with this. The camera doesn't pick up the little details, but I can just always sand it out and fill it as I need to. But yeah, finally I can put my helmet on, and it feels really good. Here's with the LEDs and the switch installed. Here, just controlling it. See it kind of flicker. The helmet is a little loose, but I did take into account for 1/2-inch cushion pads to go in there, and I did kind of do a test fit with the cushion pads, and it fits perfectly snug. It doesn't wiggle on my head too much. And there's adequate space for the fans that I will add as well. So yeah, pretty happy with what I have so far. It came out exactly how I wanted it to. So here's just some different angles of the helmet, just to kind of see it in action. And you can see how the switch adjusts brightness with the other LEDs as well. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.